Hey, I was from on blast. Are we live?
Oh, I didn't even tell Voodoo. You know what? It's weird. My brain is so fucking all over the place that I'm talking to you. We were having a conversation off air, and I just fucking run the fucking intro and go live. God damn.
Hey.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, bro.
It's all
Jesus
good. We're always ready to go. Whether it be ready to go or not ready to go, we're ready to go. Let's go, Ada Day Woods. Let's run this.
Jesus Louises, my goodness. There was a lot of stuff happening last night, and I'm still catching up, admittedly. But obviously, UFC Fight Night is what we are going for. AEW also had their Full Gear pay-per-view, to which they have a new heavyweight champion in Hangman Adam Page. So kudos to that. I mean, Dan Severn and Ken Shamrock are in town. It's all over the place. I mean, LFA on Friday night. Holy smokes. Oh, and also on Friday night was Bellator. They had from Florida. So a whole lot of MMA. I believe even Combate did a Florida show as well from Miami. So just a lot of combat sports. So if you like combat sports, again, this is one of the weekends for you. I also think that BKFC did something this Thursday or Friday. Yeah.
Yes, they did.
So
It's been an awesome 2021 in regards to mixed martial arts or just combat general. Ever since COVID, it's been phenomenal. It's just been on a steep incline, and it's been rising and rising and rising and rising. And I'm very happy to be living in this era. And I mean, if you think about it, man, we've been around in probably the greatest era in sports and in entertainment. I mean, we lived through the Attitude Era. I mean, what era rivals the Attitude Era? Now we're watching the rise of mixed martial arts, and it's taken off, man. It's taken off. We are in the evolutionary state of mixed martial art, and we're living through it. We're living through it. That's amazing, man. That's amazing. I mean, kids are going to read about this era in the future, and we are actually living it. We're going to tell stories of these times to our grandchildren.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's kind of wild to say, wild to think about. But yes, it goes into evolutionary phases. I say it like a broken record. I don't care what you call it. You can call it MMA, pro wrestling, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, catch wrestling, pro wrestling, whatever the fuck you want to call it, right? Boxing. There's never been more money in combat sports than ever before. But unfortunately, the thing that could get better is the people who are actually giving their lives to the sport, dedicating their lives to the sport. I hope that the compensation gets a little bit better, because it's just like in every other instance of commerce or what have you, is the fact that it just goes to the top, right? And unfortunately, I am no longer of the narrative that, hey, if you buy a UFC pay-per-view, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to the fighters. Fighters get paid the same, so there's that, and I'm a pretty big advocate. Start your podcast, create t-shirts, like nice t-shirt, not just the fucking shitty ass, like fucking, construction cone yellow or orange or whatever the fuck, and have a bunch of sponsors. Yeah, do your sponsors. But imagine if somebody was rocking your fucking shirt and you had a cool looking fucking shirt, right? And you gave a little bit of thought to it, spent $20 on Fiverr, the cost of a regular shirt, right? Get a design done, put it on a shirt, so that people who buy your shirts that support you, well, guess what? They're going to go and, they're going to walk in the supermarket, walk to the mall, walk wherever, might even host a podcast or whatever in their own right, and they're rocking their shirt. And the people who view these people, well, they're going to go like, oh, that's a dope shirt. go ahead and check out what the hell this is from. Find out Instagram, find the Twitter that you're on, hopefully, and go and purchase shirts. And so
That's
that's
right.
it. Do
That's
for
right.
yourself. Start
That's
podcasts, create a following. Do the TikTok, do the OnlyFans, do the Facebook, do everything. I don't because the money should go to you guys and gals, and that is my kind of rant for the day.
Yeah. I mean, we've been renting this since we started this union. Uh, there's three things, man. You got to be able to fight. You got to be able to speak on the mic, and like you just said, you need to build your own platform. You need to get those numbers up in regards to followers or whatnot. Those are the people that are gonna buy your ticket, that are gonna buy the shirt, like you just mentioned. You know what I mean? Shout out to Mike DeVries, Tattoo Studios. They hook me up. They always lace me up when it's fight time. That's why I have so many of these sweaters, bro. I have so many of these sweaters, man. So shout out to AMD Studios. If you looking for tattoos, you know what I mean. Hey, they haven't paid me or sponsored me since I fought, but I love them so much that I have no problem shouting them out right now. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So it is what it is. Mike DeVries, look him up. MD, straight up. Look him up on Instagram. You know what I mean? Kyle DeVries, look him up too. Them boys do some good work, man. If you're looking for ink, look them up.
there it is. And yeah, Sean Thompson says TikTok. Shout out to you guys. Big ups to Voodoo,
What's
100%.
up, Loco? That's my boy
Yes,
Wish Low.
there we go. And hi, guys, says Alex Ramirez. Shout out to you, good sir.
What's up,
But
Al?
so, I mean, we got this crazy ass looking card that, I mean, started off in a crazy ass way. This one we were split about. You went with Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
I went with
Mm-hmm.
Da Un Jung,
Mm-hmm.
and it was
Mm-hmm.
Da Un Jung who, I mean, it was weird, man. Kennedy looked like his offense was defending himself. He was just like this, instead of throwing punches, he was just like that, and he was the taller gentleman, maybe by a few inches or whatever. But he was it was like he's taller, but he's shrinking himself down to thwart punches from Da Un Jung. That's what it looked like to
Mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm. Where this sport is headed, it's gonna favor the athlete that moves their feet. One, hands of a boxer. Two, and three, kicks like a Taekwondo artist. Those, in regards to striking alone. I'm not talking about the ground stuff. I'm strictly talking about striking alone. And when we get to the main event, we will go deeper into what I just mentioned.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's just weird. It was very weird to me, and especially, and this is where I feel like be careful what you have your fight moniker or set up
Mm-hmm.
your social medias to be, right? Because Kennedy, his moniker was the African Savage, right? There was nothing savagery about.
Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing savage about that. He came out and he stood toe to toe with Da Un Jun. I don't know. Maybe he thought he was a better boxer, so he stood toe to toe with him. But it turned out that Da Un Jun's right cross was going to hit the target first, and from there he went on to throw a plethora of elbows, which ended Kennedy's night in the first round. Um, I don't understand what that game plan was all about, but it is what it is. It happened the way it happened. Da Un Jun moves on at 15-2, and
Yeah,
the future is bright. Kennedy, on the other hand, um, they say he's a slow starter. Perhaps that's something he should go ahead and start looking into, because a slow start in the UFC will make your career pretty short.
absolutely. And that's the catch 22 about making it to the UFC. most people, and if you talk to sports psychologists, when your deal is just getting there, right? Not a sustained career, not a world championship title shot, right? That's where you get there. What happens, right? Like that's the catch 22. So yeah, I don't know what was going on with Kennedy, but theoretically speaking, if Kennedy's and his team's game plan was to stand toe to toe right in front of a person and get hit, mission accomplished.
Yeah. Speaking of standing toe to toe and getting hit, we move on into the 155-pound division with Rafael Alves versus Mark Dacassi. What did you think about that fight, man?
I don't know what the fuck was going on. Really, I mean, Dacassi was pissed, like literally fucking pissed. Going into it, like he was talking shit when the referee brought them closer. It was like it was fucking heat. Like I fucking felt the heat coming off the damn screen, and I was like, "Oh!" And what does Alves do? Fucking kicks that motherfucker right in the nuts. Like, calm down, motherfucker. Calm down, right? So obviously Dacassi, but there's like two instances where I was just like, it made me feel weird about Dacassi, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you kick to the nuts, which I think benefited Alves, obviously, but it's a momentum because let's say there's one of two things that could have happened with Dacassi, right? Where Dacassi fucking like a damn locomotive going downhill at a decline, he could have went fucking set phasers to stun at full force and knocked out Alves. That could have happened. Or we could have seen a repeat of what, either you could call it Conor McGregor versus Jose Aldo, or who was it that hit the flying knee on Ronda? It got Cat Zingata, Alpha Cat. And she
Right.
and fucking midair, fucking Ronda had the wherewithal to snatch her from the air and armbar her in a spectacular feat, right? So that's it. It's either that he would have been killed or he would have got killed, right? So uh, that was a really good, whether he meant it to or not, that was a good momentum killer, basically of Alves to Dacassi, right? And then, something, I can't even remember the fucking sequence again, but Dacassi came running in and he got guillotined.
Yeah, he I believe he caught a roundhouse kick
Yeah.
to a punch. He caught a roundhouse kick that stunned him. Then the punch rocked him real bad, and he kind of dropped. And immediately Alves just jumped on him like a spider monkey, jumped on the guillotine and executed it. It was beautiful, systematic destruction.
Yeah, but again, you heard you felt a little bit of the heat because obviously not the foot, not the leg lock or whatever, but Alves went a little bit of what's that fucking guy's name? Jesus Christ, why am I blanking on his name? Paul Harris. Who's smart? Paul Harris.
Oh,
He held that some bitch way too long. Like I counted 3 seconds that Alves had it on, but I ain't mad at it because again, Dacassi was. I don't know what the fuck happened. Like honestly, if somebody wants to give us context, that that's great. But fucking hell, man, it was just like Dacassi. Just I don't know, man.
hey, look, you can't take any of this personal, man. When you're about to go in the cage with someone, and let's say, for example, let's say Rafael Alves did talk a bunch of smack. Let's say he did say this, he said that. You can't take that into the cage, man, because this is how Conor McGregor took out a whole bunch of fighters. He got in their heads pre-fight, and then come fight time, you'd be so angry that when you go in there, you cannot execute the way you're trained. You cannot execute. Hey, you cannot execute the way you're trained to execute because of the anger. Anger cannot take precedence over your skills. And especially in such a dangerous environment, you're locked in there in the cage. They literally lock the door of the cage. You hear the ching. I remember the first time I heard that, I was like, oh, this is gonna really happen. You know, you cannot take an angry mind in there. You have to be free of emotion, like Bruce Lee says. I mean, Bruce is so ahead of his time, man. He's talking about what's gonna happen in that octagon 45 years before it actually happens. 45, 50 years before it happens. You know what I mean? Everything that he said way back then is so true, man. It's so true. You cannot go in there with an angry mind because now there is a distraction. You know, you're not able to read the opponent the way you're supposed to. You know, you're going in there with a false mind, and a false mind will get you knocked out, and that's what happened to him. He got stunned really bad, rocked after being stunned by the kick, and then he went to straight guillotine, and he almost got his head popped off. He tapped really really quick.
Yeah, no, 100%. So again, shout out to Mr. Alves, who, I mean, he was trying to fucking get everything, man. Like, he fucking tried to pick up damn Michael Bisping, the post fight. Bisping was like, "Get the fuck off me!"
he picked up the doctor.
Yeah, it was weird, so weird. And I know, maybe that's his Conor McGregor walk, right? Maybe that's his, Anderson Silva, stalking into the cage, right? I don't fucking know. But like, I didn't know he had a move, and neither did anybody else, whatever. So if that's his gimmick, that he just picks people up and shit like that, like, I think you need to start a bunch of fucking TikToks or whatever about him, lifting people up. Because nobody knew any of the wiser. So it just looked like, here's what arguably the biggest win of his career to date. And all we remember, not of the fucking slick ass submission, but and not even fucking DeCaste's fucking attitude towards him. Or the nut shot after, right? We just remember like the viral video that I got was just Mike Bisping having none of it. So shout out to Bisping, man. So shit me. Talk about a systematic destruction. Courtney Casey, who came in the octagon last night with a 50-50 record, 9-9. Literally, I mean, obviously the Georgia that Liliana Jojua that comes from, I don't believe they're known for their peaches, right? But theoretically, if she was from the U.S. Georgia, then Courtney Casey beat the peaches out of Jojua. Holy hell, man. It was just a one-sided affair, like nobody's business. Jojua was, visibly bloodied, facially bloodied. And, even more so than Courtney Casey's win, whoever Jojo was, I don't know what the standards and practices are in Georgia and what you do or don't do with the Georgian flag. Motherfucker. My dog too.
Yeah.
But let me find something with her. Hold on. Bang! Got him, bullseye. Got him. Peter's gonna love this podcast. Anywho, I got him right in the fucking.
They're looking for you already, man.
Yeah, man, it's cool.
You about to go viral.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I can't. But yeah, Jojo, gets her ass handed to her, right? And her corner, I don't know what the fuck is up with the Georgian flag or whatever, but she's can't bear it because her nose is all fucked up and whatever. And literally, her fucking corner is ramrodding the fucking Georgian flag into her palms as she could fucking carry her country to her personal defeat. That was really weird. It was really weird.
Yeah, Jujua for sure is very tough because she took a beating. She took a beating and kept coming. Courtney Casey is that kind of fighter. Take one to give one, But on this particular day, Courtney Casey's kickboxing reigned supreme. She threw very good hands, lots of straight shots, occasional roundhouse kicks here and there. But Juju was at a disadvantage. She was at a reach disadvantage which paid dividends in her
Right.
loss. She was able to get the takedown, but upon getting the takedown, she couldn't do anything with it. So maybe the wrestling takedown is there because she was able to get the bigger Courtney Casey down. But when you get her down, what about the ground and pound? You know, we got to ground control and all that needs to be there, and she wasn't able to do that. She couldn't maximize on her takedown, so it didn't really matter. Courtney Casey was able to get back to her feet and commence the ass whooping, and so did the ass whooping commence. And it was what it was, and for what it was, Liana, you know, you're tough, but tough doesn't pay the bill, and tough doesn't put W's on your record. So go back to the drawing boards and figure it out.
Yeah, agreed. You know, but maybe the people stuffing the country flag, you know, if they would have stuffed more whatever punchy power into your, you know, training camp, maybe we would add a different deal. But I don't know. I digress. But holy shit, what did Sean Woodson remind you of? What character from a 90s era? I mean, obviously it's still here to this day, but 90s era video game does Sean Woodson, video game character does Sean Woodson
Street
remind you
Fighter.
of?
Street Fighter.
Okay,
Thousand from Street Fighter.
Yes.
Yoga
Holy
Flame.
shit. Holy shit. Woodson, I swear to God, he looked like, oh my, the last time I've seen a body so oblong was maybe Giant Baba of All Japan Pro Wrestling. Like, you know, like fucking, you know, crazy ass, like almost like ET like torso with long, just devoid of any muscle tone, arms and legs, right?
Hey, somebody that's so long to be able to have such hand speed is amazing, right? He's so long and skinny, but yeah, he's got great hand speed and the kicking speed. Everything is on point. His ground game is very suspect because that one loss, you know, there's a lot of ground issues that had to go with you know, with that. But he was able to keep calling angling out of punching range by keeping at the tail end of the ones and twos and the kicks. Everything he did was with the ones and twos. He nullified his opponent's attack with the ones and twos. He stunned him with the two, which opened up the body shots. He hit him with 3 liver shots, and the third one was the one that did it. Shout out to Anglin. He took the first 2. He tried to hide it. Hey, I've been hitting the liver before, man. I was kicked in the liver. But either way, man, a liver shot is not fun. It's not fun at all. And he took the first 2 like a champ. He tried to hide it. Even the shot that stunned him, that opened up the liver shots, he tried to put on a poker face, but that third hook to the body did it, and he just dropped immediately, man. And it was what it was. He was in there against a superior striker, and he lost. There's no shame in that kind of loss. It was in the first round, though, but it was tough. It was a tough fight for Colin Angling.
Yeah, he got angling right into a fucking liver shot, dude. Jesus Christ. You know, but that's it, man. Sean Woodson with the win, first round KO, which, I mean, when it happened, I didn't even realize that it happened just due to the fact that, you know, it was kind of wild, right? Where, you know, it was kind of the way that it was going that whole round, right? So I didn't think anything different, especially Anglin, you know, kind of diffusing, you know, that first attempt to shut his liver down or shut his body down via his liver, you know, and then when it happened, I was just like, oh okay. Like, that was weird. Yeah. But yeah, man, shout out to Woodson, which, fuck yeah, man.
Speaking of shout out,
yeah,
I beat you to it, didn't I? I beat you to it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great.
Speaking of shout outs, Angela Lee versus Cynthia Kalvia. What a match. What say you?
Well, it's kind of weird. Cynthia Kalvia actually, you know, stepped in short notice, right? When Andre KGB Lee former Invicta world champion. When her it's weird. She was supposed to fight Jessica Evil Eye, and literally it says why that fight didn't happen. Tapology said eye illness. Now, if it was an actual eye, there's a wordplay in there, which I love. Right. So, but Cynthia Kalvia, who is actually ranked number 5, in the UFC women's flyweight division, stepped in short notice to fight somebody who was not even in the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it was Andrea KGB Lee's fight to win one way or another,
Nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Everything lost by Cynthia Kalvia. I mean, I don't know how the rankings work where, is she going to fall? Are they going to swap places?
They have to. I mean, you can't stay in fifth in place number 5 when she just beat you. At least you got to go down 1 and have her take your spot. That's what makes sense. And Andrea Lee's key to success in this particular fight was the boxing.
Yeah,
she kicked, but it was the boxing. Her boxing was on point, man. And once again, we talk about that boxing. When we get to the main event, we'll go really deep into the boxing. But Andrea Lee, yes, she kicked a bit, but it was her hands counter striking, initiating the strikes and then countering on top of that. That's what did it. And shout out to Cynthia Kalvia's corner. We talk about, oh man, the referee should have stopped the fight. It is not the referee's job to stop the fight. Yes, it is the referee's job to stop the fight, but it's the corners. Hey man, look, these corners, they are the ones that are in there day in and day out with this fighter. Why aren't they throwing the towel in enough? Why are they sending that fighter back in there? And then you want to tell the referee, well, you should have stopped the fight. No, you are the corner. You should stop the fight. You are the fighter. You should be able to say, hey, man, I can't go anymore. You know what I mean? Shout out to Cynthia for understanding that being a tough guy or gal, it's not a smart thing to do. Not at this level. You will get hurt trying to please some fans, trying to prove how tough you are. That's retarded. That's really retarded. You know what I mean? That's very slow. That was a beautiful job by that corner. 1, it was a short notice fight, like you mentioned. 2, we're taking too much damage. You know what I mean? We're bleeding from the nose, eyes busted, this and that. Hey. It's like that one country music singer. You gotta know when to fold them. Know when to
Kenny Rogers. Yeah.
Kenny Rogers. You gotta know when to fold, man. Otherwise, your pot will be lost. If you don't fold, I mean, live to fight another day, like the man from Friday said. Pops. Yeah. Live to fight another day. You know what I mean? Cynthia, wise. There is no shame in knowing when you've had enough. Not too long ago, Nate Diaz did it. He's like, hey, I'm done. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that, fighter. There's nothing wrong with that. There is no shame in that. That is not quitting. That is using your brain. Don't be a punching dummy for somebody's highlight. Yeah. When you've reached your max, stop. There's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with that. No matter what anybody says, they're not the one taking that beating for you. Forget these whoever's that are gonna point a finger. Have them go do it. You want to point a finger? You want to say she quit? Why don't you get in there and let's see what you're gonna do? Let's see what you're gonna do. You get in there and show how tough you are. She's not gonna get paid any more if she takes more beating.
Yeah.
I mean, how much she getting paid anyway? 40,000.
Yeah.
40,000. 40,000 doesn't even cover the doctor's bill.
Right. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Let alone the aftercare or anything like that.
Come on, man.
Which that's in a precarious position that Cynthia Kalvia is in, right? So she steps in. This is where I wonder about the contract negotiations, right? If she was basically told you got to take this fight, or if they just were like, oh, like her team, just wanted to have her, get in there, right? Because I mean, it's weird because she just fucking lost to fucking Andrade 2 months ago,
Yeah,
right?
Andrade is you know what I'm saying? Andrade's
Yeah,
got hands of stone,
right.
like Barton. But this is a fight that they thought they could win. You can tell by the way she
How?
came out of the gate. She came out of the gate like, "Come on, let's go," and she was throwing them hands immediately.
Yeah,
No fill out period, no nothing. They thought that they were, she is the more veteran of the two in the UFC. She came out
right.
there with the aura, the Cynthia Kalvia aura. I mean, I picked her to win. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? She was supposed to win, right? She came out there and she was gonna bring the fight to the newcomer. Even though, yeah, AJ Lee has been in the UFC for a little bit, but she's minor. She's minor compared to Cynthia. So Cynthia brought that to her. She was like, "Hey, don't trip. I got these hands too. Let's go. If this is what you want to do, let's do it." And she couldn't take down Lee. She couldn't take her down, and that was the problem. She remember we talked. She's got a wrestling background, and if she was able to take it to the ground, then we'll see a different fight. So she brought the fight. She enticed Andrea Lee to bring the fight. Andrea brought the fight. Now we're in a position to get the takedown, right? She goes for the
Mhm.
takedown. It wasn't happening. Oh no. Oh no. I think we bit more than we could chew. They
Yeah.
realized that immediately. And stopped the fight. That was brilliant.
Yeah.
That was brilliant. That corner,
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant job by that corner.
Now it may be good for the corner, but it doesn't bode well for the long term, I guess, auspices that Cynthia Calvillo has in the UFC because this is her third loss in a row, right? She gets KO'd by Andrade. Before that, goes to a unanimous decision, loss to Caitlin Chikugian, the blonde fighter,
Right.
right?
Right.
So, and then takes this fight with somebody who is lower in the rankings, right? Which,
Right.
if you haven't realized already, rankings don't mean shit, right?
Exactly. I was waiting
And
for you to finish.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. But now she's 0-3 of her last three fights. Now mind you,
Mm-hmm.
funny enough, her last win comes over Jessica I, who she basically filled in for. But it doesn't seem that long. I mean, it seems longer than that ago, but that was just June last year, June of
Mm-hmm.
2020. But she
Yeah.
takes three fights. Oh, well, actually, four fights in 16 months and goes
Mm-hmm.
1-4 or one and
But
three. I'm
the
sorry.
good thing here is she did a favor for the company on this last one. They'll give her one more. They'll give her one more. She did them a favor by filling in the card. Otherwise, I mean, it would have been a 10-card fight, and that's not looking too good. So she did them a favor. So a favor for a favor, like Snoop Dogg said.
Yeah. The only thing about
So
it is she might get one more, but how bodily, after Andrade KOing
mhm,
her, and then
mhm,
obviously this fight with KGB Lee.
mhm.
In this next fight, what is she
Look,
going to look like?
hey man, people will only remember what you did last. Let's say she comes back and she gets a dramatic win, and it was fantastic. Everyone's gonna forget about the 3 losses prior.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Yeah,
the game. This is the game. See, it is her job to go out there and immediately start doing damage control on social media. You know what I mean? You see these fighters afterwards, they disappear. Don't disappear. Don't let people remember the last thing for them to remember is this loss to KJ, KGB Lee, whatever her name is. Immediately go back on Instagram or whatever. I mean, when Joanna Jacek, when she had a swollen forehead and all that, she was still on social media talking on the internet. Woo 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 woo. I mean, doing interviews immediately.
yeah.
She's doing damage control. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? This is what you need to as a fighter. This is what you need to do. Like I don't follow. Most of these fighters I don't follow. I only follow a few. You know what I mean? Most of them are younger than me. I mean, what they gonna say to me that I don't already know? What they you know what I mean? What is it that they're gonna post that I don't already know? I don't follow most of them. But if she goes on there and she's like, whoa, you know what I mean? Connect with the fans, man. Show them the human side of you. If you can show them the human side of you, man, they will forget about the loss and they will continue to support you. This is what she needs to do. You know what I mean? If she's able to do that, they will forget about this. They will forget about this loss, and she'll be back in no time. And if she wins, on top of that, boom, she's right back into the stratosphere, man, on the upward trajectory. And it is what it is. It's how you play the game. Like, remember, we talked about this 2 weeks ago. All this is a game. It's a game. These fighters, they take it too serious. The promotion don't take it serious. You know what I mean? The fighters that make the most money don't take this serious. It's it's a means to an end. You know what I mean? They're trying to make as much money as possible and move on to something else. It took Dustin Poirier a long time to figure this out, but now he's figured it out. You know what I mean? He's figured it out. It took Conor McGregor was instant. He knew exactly what he was going to do immediately. You know what I mean? The fighters that are most successful, if you watch them closely, they don't take this serious. Look at Max Holloway. You know what I mean? He's about his family. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. The fighting game is very it's to be played seriously, but don't forget that it's a game that is being played seriously. In the end, it's a game. Remember, it's a game, and then everything will be well. You just got to remember it's a game.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know what? Earlier than he probably thought it was going to happen, the game ended for Thiago Moises, right? It's Joel Alvarez fucking elbowed and uppercut the shit out of him. I mean, he was out on his feet. Holy shit, man. This whole card was just KOs and submissions and KOs and submission. You know, everybody was trying to earn that extra 50K, you know, but what say you about this fight?
This fight was a battle of David and Goliath. They both might have weighed in at 155, but Joel Alvarez was a massive individual in that cage. He looked like he was coming. He looked like he was a 185 pounder going up against a 155 pounder. It just wasn't fair. On top of that, he had reach advantage, a speed advantage. He was the better kickboxer. It was just a highlight reel for him. He lit up Thiago Moises so bad. He caught him, stunned him, backed him up to the fence, and just started raining elbows. And that was it. He beat him bad. He beat him terribly. He cut him pretty good with those shots, and he's moving on. The Spaniard moves on.
Yeah. So it's a good win for Joel. We'll see what he does from here. And I forgot to mention, obviously, Andre KGB Lee, the first recipient of the night of that 50K bonus with her win over Cynthia Kalvia. So never forget. And we should never forget the name Yadong Song or Song Yadong. Either way you want to put it, this dude is amazing. He KOs in the second round Julio Arce. And the thing about it is, you know what? This starts off the main card, obviously, but you know what I want, and I know it'll never happen just because there's too much weight in between it. You know what fight that I would love to have?
Which one?
Yadong Song versus Gilbert Burns. Why? Because if they just went on last names alone, it would be Yadong Burns.
Hey, Julio Arce went in there thinking that it was gonna be a certain kind of match, but Yadong Song was like, son, he put major tips on him. He hit him with that right hand so hard, and he just kept pounding him with that right hand, man. And then until he dropped him, and he smashed him into the ground with the right hand continuously until the referee stopped it. The kid's got some power, man. In that two hand, That rear too, boy. Man, anyone he touches with that, he stuns him. He stuns him and he drops him. And then the hand sweep that comes after, he rains doomsday upon everyone that he's able to stun like that. And that's why he's 18-5, man. He's doing really good in the UFC right now. He's looking pretty good. And he's actually calling for a top 10 opponent now.
Yeah.
The Kung Fu Monkey is calling for a top 10 opponent. If he's calling for it, give it to him. Give it to him. I say he runs it back with Chito Vera, because I think Chito beat him. But let's run that back. Let's run it back. Let's see what's up.
I mean, is Chito in the top 10?
Chito, I believe, is in the top 10 now. Look what
after that last win. Yeah, after the last win. No, but I mean, it's so soon. Wait, no. Wait. When did they fight? Oh yeah. I guess they put it. They just fought last year. I think it's too soon. But one thing that I will tell you though, fuck, I would be pissing myself if I was Aljamain Sterling, right? If this guy wants a top 10, you're looking down the fucking barrel and you got shit. Who beat fucking Jan? Did Jan win? Wait, who won that fucking fight? Yeah, Jan lost. Didn't he lose?
Who's Jan again?
Pietro Jan.
Oh, Pietro. Oh no, he won.
Did he win?
He won.
Okay.
Yeah. He won.
Yeah.
He won by unanimous decision.
Okay, so with that all being for whatever reason, I had a picture in my head that he didn't win, but even still, the fact that he's got to run it back, with Aljamain Sterling has to run it back with Jan, that should scare, the shit out of you, and then you got Song Yadong somewhere, begging for a fucking top 10. So shit, me, it's scary. I would. There ain't no amount of there ain't amount of fucking, what is it? Shit that you want to do, or fucking, your homies pumping you up or whatever the fuck, or acting that you can do, because these bad motherfuckers are coming for you. And
son, you're done.
Yeah. Yep. You know what? And if you kept playing around like you do in that fucking first fight with Jan, guess what? You're gonna feel like your dong burn. I was gonna say you're gonna feel like your dong burns, but anywho. Speaking of things that might burn, must burn in Miguel Baeza that he lost to Chaos Williams, but Chaos Williams showed why he brings nothing but pure, unadulterated chaos.
Hey man, I believe ego is a very, very terrible thing for mixed martial artists. Ego is a terrible thing, because I see no reason why Miguel Baeza stood there and went toe to toe with Chaos Williams. Why? Well, first of all, who are you trying to convince that you can stand there? Why would you do something so reckless? You have excellent jiu-jitsu, excellent wrestling. Why aren't you taking this sucker down? Chaos. The name is Chaos. Chaos for one reason. He is a one-dimensional fighter. He brings hell in these. That's all you need to worry about. You don't have to worry about his wrestling. You don't have to worry about his kicking. You don't have to worry about his jiu-jitsu. You don't have to worry about anything mixed martial arts related when you're dealing with Chaos. He's only going to bring his hands. We already know this. Why are you standing in front of him? Why are you flat-footed in front of this man? Mm-hmm. Why? That didn't... I mean, if I knew he was going to do that, I would have picked Chaos. Duh.
Yeah.
Duh. Come on. This is not rocket science. Why would you stand in front of someone who's got metal in their fist? He's got metal in his fist.
Yeah.
It's almost like cheating. You know what I mean? He's got metal in his hand, and you want to stand there and not move your head and not shoot the double and not shoot the single. I don't know, man. I mean, sometimes I don't understand these guys. I just don't. I can't explain it. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I can tell you. I'm the wrong person to ask, but yeah, it was just fucking weird. It reminded me of that fight earlier in the card. With Kennedy, right? It's like if that's what you were coming with, ooh, that's all I can say is ooh,
And and
that's a
and
bad
and,
idea.
and I mean, every time we meet, we talk about the evolution of the sport. Even today, we talk about how fast the sport is changing. Right? At this point in the game, you don't understand. You need to move your feet. Kennedy, Baeza. At this point in the game, you don't understand. You need to move your feet. I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. Why is it so difficult for these folks to invest in movement? Why is it so difficult? I mean, the more you move, the less of a target you are. That's common sense. That's common sense. Look at Floyd Mayweather. People say he's running. He's not running, stupid. He's not running. He's trying to keep from getting hit. He's trying to keep from getting hit. This is why he's never taken any major serious damage.
Right.
This is why, even though he is not educated, he can still put together a complete sentence.
Yep.
He might have bad grammar, but the man can put together a beautiful run-on sentence. You know why? Because he doesn't get hit in the head. Why? He moves his feet. He moves his feet. Pietro Yan, like you mentioned. He moves his feet. I mean, he's very offensive. He brings the offense, but yet his feet never stops moving. This is why he's so great. And of course, he's got very good boxing. Baeza, he's got great boxing. He's got great kickboxing, right? Why is he flat-footed in front of this man?
Right.
I will never understand why he did that.
Yeah, it's weird, and the fact that it, happened, in the third round, it wasn't like he couldn't come back in the second round and seeing some of the errors of his ways in the first and correct it. That's the same thing with his coaches. It's not like they couldn't go like, oh, this ain't working, plan B, plan C, but it just said like, oh, we're gonna stick with plan A and hope it works out. It's almost like fucking putting a penny in the wishing well. But
he probably thought to himself, oh man, I mean, I just went 10 minutes with this dude. He doesn't hit that hard like they say he hits. But what people don't understand is the shots that put you out, you don't really feel them. You don't really feel them. You know what I mean? I've never been knocked out. I've been choked out, but I've never been knocked out. I know from hitting people that when I hit them and they go out, it's almost like their face goes with the shot. Kind of like Baeza went with the shot when he dropped. You know what I mean? It was the ground that woke him up. And he's trying to argue with the referee, but I'm okay. No, bro. Go watch that replay. You were out before you hit the ground. Upon hitting the ground was when you actually woke up, bro. You woke up. The ground woke you up, bro. You were out. Yeah. Don't argue with the ref. No, it's too late. You screwed up by not moving your feet. This man, let's move on, bro. I'm starting to get upset.
No worries. We're not going to upset the great Voodoo Maximus. But you know who left the octagon a little bit upset, probably a little bit discombobulated? Leah Lutzen. Because Felicia Spencer just came in and ran roughshod over Nida's Leah Lutzen. Leah obviously, has a pretty amazing, pedigree. She's an Invicta veteran. She's a King of the Cage veteran. She was a member of the UFC Ultimate Fighter, season 28, right? Like, was she eventually? I mean, she was in the finals and lost to none other than the. Oh no, I'm sorry. Blah blah blah. No, she semifinal run. She loses to the eventual winner, Macy Chiasson. But on that Ultimate Fighter 28 finale, she basically fought Julia Storienko, right? So what we've got is a systematic distraction by Felicia Spencer to Leah Letson, who improves Felicia Spencer, phenom, basically improves to a 9-3 record. Obviously, didn't do well to with Amanda Nunes. She kind of, I don't know. The referee gave her mercy in one ways that let her finish the fight, but in other ways, we were like, was it Mario Yamasaki? Because I almost felt like it was like, if they die, they die. That's what I kind of felt, And after that, she lost a submission underground bout to Amanda Lowen, then lost the UFC bout to Norma Dumont. So this one was her first, combat sports win. Since beating Zara Farin back at UFC on ESPN Plus 27 back in February of 2020. When the world was still okay, right? And she basically went to a unanimous decision with both Chris Cyborg and Amanda Nunes, the queens, the reigning queens of featherweight women's MMA, and has wins over two Invicta featherweight champions, back-to-back wins, one over Pam Bam Sorensen, who just fought against Angry Fist, Aussie Angry Fist. Jesus, why am I blanking on her name? Arlen Blanco. That's who she fought, right? She fought Arlen Blanco, who faced and got beat by Cyborg in Invicta. But when you look at Felicia Spencer, she's been in there with 4 world champions and beat 2, right?
Yeah.
She's been in there with Pam Sorensen, Invicta featherweight women's champion, Megan Anderson, again another Invicta, women's featherweight champion, beats both of them, the same way, rear naked chokes, right? And then loses to Amanda Nunes and Chris. After the Megan that was a unanimous decision loss. Well, she goes, the fact that Amanda Nunes and Chris Cyborg didn't finish her is, a damn world championship in her own right, So the fact that, she wins this fight over Leah Letson, that's a nice little momentum swing.
Yeah, Felicia Spencer, like you said, is a veteran of the sport. 9-3. She's been in there with the very best women in the world.
In the world.
You know what I mean? And yeah. And
in 3 different organizations.
Right?
Realistically.
What is Leah Letson gonna do to her? Leah Letson. Right?
She could have tried. She tried.
She tried, and she's tough. She's tough. And she took that beating like Felicia Spencer took that beating from Cyborg and Amanda Nunes.
Yep, 100%.
She took that beating. She took the beating like a G. So respect to her. You know what I'm saying? I hope the pay was worth it because she took a beating. She looked really, really bad at the end of that fight. But it is what it is, man. These are warriors. These are what warriors do. When it's different when you're in the cage. It's different. I can say whatever I want right now, but when you're in the cage, it's hard to not continue. It's very tough, and it's not ego either. It's not ego. It's just the never say die attitude that you've trained all month, all 2-3 months long before this fight. That tends to come into play, right? But then that's what your corner is there for, to throw that towel in when they seem that you've taken too much damage. But it is what it is. The sport is still young. 25, 30 years? That's very young. Boxing is over 200 years old.
Yeah.
So.
Well, when you think about it, right? MMA of a different day was pancration, right? So we're talking about the oldest sport in the world, right? All combat rather than just a specialty, right? Because when you think about it, and it's something that plagues itself to this day, right? In the instance of people thinking, oh, that's barbaric, right? the early days of the UFC. We saw it firsthand, right? It's barbaric. It's barbaric, right? No commission, no state athletic commission wanted to legalize it in the time, right? So they had to refine, and it's in that refinement do we get boxing, right? But in terms of all things, all limbs, all weapons, and what have you, that's pancration, which is probably the closest thing to current day MMA and leftway, right? So,
yes.
so I would even say it's and that's the problem that I have, right? Where a lot of people have, especially in this country, revisionist history, right? They think that boxing is the oldest sport or whatever. Remember, Abe Lincoln was a fucking wrestler. Teddy Roosevelt was a wrestler, right? George Washington was a wrestler, not a boxer, a wrestler. Boxing was actually looked at as lowbrow, right? Even with radio and television, right? Early days of radio, it was cheaper to produce wrestling than it was boxing, right? Same thing later with TV, the invention of TV. Way more people were watching, a Gorgeous George and Lou Thez and Ed Strangler Lewis than maybe a Jersey Joe Walcott or, a fucking Joe Louis, right? So eventually everything came around, but yeah, MMA, if you cite the fucking lineage of pancration, I think is older. That's just my opinion. Opinions are like assholes.
Yeah, your opinion is valid. It's not invalid. It is valid. But since we became sports entertainment, you know what I mean? It's young. That aspect is young. So that I mean, like back in the days of pancration, they were making a shilling, right? A shilling to fight.
And now we have Joe Schilling. Now we have Joe Schilling.
So, and it's new to the West. You know what I mean? It's new to the West. Because the West is the biggest market. Is it the biggest market? Well,
depending
the most publicized market. The most publicized market.
Yeah, I would say that.
The West got Hollywood.
Because if there are fucking, rugby players in Australia that we've never heard of, right? There's cricket players in India that we've never heard of that are earning even like way more so than the fucking NFL or NBA, Floyd Mayweather numbers and shit in terms of the contract, So,
like,
I mean,
like
hell,
those soccer players.
Hell yes. I mean, look at David Beckham, on the, the twilight of his career, hooked $100 million deal before Mayweather, before McGregor, before Rogan, right? Before they were $100 million men. Hell, it was Beckham first, and that's in addition to the millions that he made during the prime of his career. So, yeah, good to be Beckham. Bend it like Beckham.
Bend it like Beckham.
But speaking of things that might be hell bent, we are at the co-main events of the evening. We have we have perennial veteran of the sport, Big Ben Rothwell, 39-14, over 50 fights for this fucking guy, right? And against the Brazilian 19-7 Marcos Rodrigo de Lima. There was a lot of raised eyebrows at Herb Dean after this one. This one was a short affair, lasting only 32 seconds. I mean, Marcos Rodrigo de Lima was putting it on Big Ben, and I mean, as I was watching it, I kind of saw a tweet by the former UFC World Heavyweight Champion Josh Barnett, and Barnett goes, let me see if I can pull up the tweet. He said something to the effect of Rothwell's a warrior, right? And it was a pretty shitty call. Now, obviously, I'm paraphrasing it. I am actually going on his page to see exactly what the fuck he said. Yeah, Rothwell was rocked, but not finished. He's tough as nails, and should have been let to fight on. So that was, right after. So
Hey,
yeah, man.
but that comment right there is coming from a savage, a
Yeah, it
straight up
is.
Viking, a bloodthirsty Viking. You know what I'm saying? That's no average man making that comment. I understand that comment coming from him. He's a savage himself. You know what I mean? That's a dude. Hey, I remember a commercial, man. He was gonna bare knuckle box or something like that with some
Yeah,
dude, and he would say, he said something to the effect of, "Hey man, if a boy want to go to hell, hey man, I'm down to visit Valhalla with him." See, he said
yeah.
something like that. I was like, "Oh my god, that is."
Burnett can be
I mean,
savage, man.
it hit it. Yeah, man. This is a savage individual.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Oh, did
I
you see the guy
understand
that he was fighting?
the one that was all tatted up.
Yeah, he looked like the fucking
Yeah,
Berlin Wall, like when it fucking
yeah,
crumbled and shit.
yeah.
Holy
And
fuck,
he was
man.
like, I'm down to go to Valhalla too. Let's go.
Mhm.
Let's do
Yeah,
this. Hey, that guy's on a whole nother level, man.
yeah,
He's a whole nother level type human. He's not your average human. He's not your average human. And I
yeah.
understand his comment. I understand his comment. But like we've been talking about, this is all Ben Rothwell's fault. You cannot stand it. The man is throwing severe hooks at you, and all you do is this.
Yeah.
I understand you have reach advantage. I get it. You didn't even use it. You just bit that and they caught you. If you
Yeah.
move your feet, I understand you're a big dude. Move your feet. Cyril Gahn moves his feet.
Yeah.
You want to fight at this level? You better evolve. You better evolve. Big. I mean, even um the man we just talked about, the Viking,
Barnett, Josh Barnett.
Josh Barnett. He relatively moves his feet. He doesn't stand there flat-footed.
He's
He
not standing
moves.
there. No.
He's not gonna stand there because he's very intelligent. He might be a savage, but he's very intelligent. He doesn't just stand there. If you just stand there, then anyone has a chance to knock you out, and that's what we saw. Not to say Marcos Rogerio de Lima is not qualified to win a match of this caliber. He is, and he did. But if you make it that much easy for him, then don't blame the referee for stopping the fight. Even though you're a warrior and you could have continued. You put yourself in that situation. Where were the jabs? I saw no
Right.
jabs. You
Right.
didn't establish your distance immediately with the jabs. You were an excellent boxer. Where were the jabs immediately? If he would have started throwing jabs immediately, those hooks that came and touched him would have been delayed.
Which, correct me if I'm wrong, right? And I can understand what Herb Dean saw because what I saw, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but as Marcos was punching, right, towards right before in the seconds, in the milliseconds before Herb Dean stepped in, right? It wasn't like he was throwing defensive or offensive shots. It was like his head and body and arms were ragdolling by the punches of Marcos. I mean, am I wrong in that?
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But at the same time, this is the more experienced fighter.
Right.
He's been fighting since this dude was in diapers, figuratively. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He should understand. I mean, by now he's seen all sorts of attacks, all sorts of
Yeah.
fighters, fast ones, slow ones, fat ones, skinny ones. He's seen it all. So what Lima did is nothing surprising. Nothing surprising. Why didn't he, as the more experienced fighter, Ben Rothwell, why didn't he establish his range immediately? Why?
Right.
He did this to himself. Yes, Herb Dean first touched him and then he let it go, or whatever the dilemma was that people were crying about, right? Yeah, he kind of stopped the fight, then he let it go, whatever the drama that they're crying about. That makes no difference. That makes no difference. Ben Rothwell put himself in the situation that he's in. He should have never been in that situation based on his experience level alone.
You know what's weird though? Just
Mhm.
because you're saying like, oh, he's been fighting since Marcos was in diapers in the case of Rothwell, right? But when you think about it, I started to think about myself, and I was like, how the fuck old was I when Ben Rothwell started fighting? And do
Mm-hmm.
you want to know the answer?
No.
I, Ben Rothwell started fighting his first amateur bout, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the, I believe it was the Ohio regional scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
His first fight was May, wait, no, let's see. Yeah, May 20th.
That's my
Wait,
birthday.
May 20th? That's your birthday? So that's like days after mine. I'm May 7th, right? So he was fighting like what I 99 was my fucking first year of high school. It was the I mean, realistically, if we are in May or June 99, because it kind of gets weird because it says that he fought it says that he's at 625 99, then 2000, 520 2000, and then 625. Like it's apparently he fought both Nick Bartlett and Pete Del Muti
Mm-hmm.
on the same day, which for
Mm-hmm.
99 he probably could have. It was like a one night tournament or whatever.
Yeah.
But with that all being said, like yeah, June 99, I was essentially graduating from middle school, Crozier Middle School in Inglewood High School. I think about the 25th was right around like prom, at the old Hollywood Park Casino. And this guy was fucking fighting, right? You
Mm-hmm.
see, he was fighting. That's how long Ben Rothwell has been. And the thing about it is, I'm born 85. He's born 81. 4 years. He's younger than Barnett. And I think he has as many fights, if not more so, than Barnett in terms of MMA.
There you go.
That's
There you
wild.
go.
Just in 4 years. He's only 4 years younger than me and 2 years
Mm-hmm.
younger than yeah. Barnett is 35 and 8. 35 and 8.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? And obviously there's a UFC and UFC, IWGP, Metamoris, world titles, world heavyweight titles, to boot. But even
Mm-hmm.
still, he's got more fights than Barnett.
Yep. That's exactly my point, man. That's what I'm saying. Like at this point in the game for him, he should have understood that. Marco is not that difficult to study. That's how he fights. He brings a lot of pressure immediately. Use your jabs, man. Use your front kicks. Use your distance. Manage the distance. Have him burn himself out and knock his ass out in the second or third round. It's very
Yeah.
simple. You know what I mean? I've seen him. This guy beat over him for Christ's sakes.
Yeah.
He beat
Never
over
forget.
him. Over
Never
him who
forget.
was a mover. Over him who was a mover. He nonstop moving. Nonstop moving. And he beat that guy by knockout. If he can beat that guy, a high class striker, why are you losing to Delima?
Yeah.
Why are you
Yeah.
losing to Delima? Why are you flat footed against Delima? You know what I mean? But did he not respect him that much? Was that what it was? He didn't respect his opponent,
I
and he
don't
went to
know.
sleep because of it.
And there has been arguments in recent years about, obviously Rothwell changing gyms and changing coaches because they were like, hey, if he was at a bigger gym, he'd be doing a lot better or what have you. And that's kind of the fickle MMA fan base where
Nah.
when you're winning, nobody questions it, right? When you're not winning, everybody questions everything that you're doing. You can do no right, so to speak, so
Hey man,
it's wild.
hey, after 40 plus fights, ain't no coaching that's gonna make you any better. After 40, 50 fights, 50 plus fights, ain't no coaching. What the coach is gonna tell you that you ain't seen already?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What they're gonna say that you haven't seen already? That's got nothing to do with this. This is
Yeah.
all Ben Roswell. It's all him. This loss is all on him. He can't blame Herb Dean or anybody. No. The Silva, the Lima or whatever, the Lima, he's not on his level at all. Even though Rothwell is much older. Whatever you want to call it. This isn't about age, because in the heavyweight division, power is the last thing to go. Power is the last thing to go. Ben Rothwell is still good enough, boxing-wise, to keep this guy back. He just didn't do it.
Yeah, and it's crazy because De Lima says like he wants to be in the top 5 by the end of next year. Hey, well, that's what you say, right? Have something to say, whatever the fuck, you know? And that's somebody who made, to me, you know, Ben Rothwell is an uncrowned champion, right? With as many fights as he's had, and he's put, you know, he's basically beat world champions, you know, in his record. So I don't know, man.
Hey, man, this guy can't even. He can't even beat Ovin St. Preux, and he want to talk about the top 5. Are you? Come on, bro. Come on, man. Come on.
I don't know. I didn't think much of. I didn't think much of Derek Lewis, and you know, like I thought.
You think this guy can see Derek Lewis?
No. Come
on, man.
Yeah.
Come on. You think this guy can see the caucus, whatever that cop?
Yeah, Kyle Dawkins.
Yeah, you think this guy can see him? Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right. Aspinall, you think this guy can see Aspinall? And these guys are below 5. They're all below 5. The guys that I'm mentioning, with the exception of the Black Beast.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Come on.
Holy
top 5. Get the hell out of here. Get the hell out of here. Top 5. Well, wishful thinking, I guess.
You know. Yeah, so that's a wild one. Oh, it's a wild one. But speaking of wild motherfucking things, we are at the main events of the evening. We have Yair Rodriguez, El Pantera, against former UFC featherweight champion, arguably one of the greatest featherweight fighters to ever live, Max Bless Holloway. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man. This shit was, I mean, this is live rounds, all 5 rounds, you know. This, man, of course, Holloway did enough to, you know, thwart Rodriguez, but I mean, Rodriguez, man, he was doing cartwheels in the fucking corner and all this shit, you know, and that's cool when your foot in like a fucking balloon. You know, it was like whatever that was in, you know, Joanna Jędrzejczyk's head, fucking metastasized Yair Rodriguez's foot. Yes, holy shit, it looked gnarly. Yes. There's so many things I love about this fight. There's so many things I love about the individual fighters. But what I saw afterwards just made me love it even more. As they're basically putting Yair Rodriguez into the ambulance to go to the hospital, Max Holloway makes a beeline out of the UFC Apex Center, right in the parking lot, you know, and make sure like he gives his propers to Yair Rodriguez, and Rodriguez wants to take a picture, and they fucking take a picture, and Max is like send it to me. Like there's no love lost. These are 2 of the greatest 145ers that there has been, 2 of the most decorated, you know, at Yair Rodriguez, right? People forget. Even with this loss to Max Holloway, which is not bad, right? Dana White said Yair Rodriguez's stock doesn't go down with this loss, right? He's only 13-3. 13-3. There are champions in the UFC that don't even have the record that Yair Rodriguez has. There are champions in Bellator, and champions all over MMA, right? We had none other than what's your name? Courtney Casey came in 9-9. 9-9, you know, that's some crazy shit. But this just shows the dominance of Holloway. And I've been back and forth with the whole him and Alexander Volkanovski again. But anybody that, you know, was kind of on the fence, if we should see that again, Jesus Christ, Volkanovski's never been better. Holloway just proves he's never been better. Like, if this fight happens, like, where else is Max going to go other than a title fight? Tell me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Money fight.
Right. That's the only thing, right? That would be it. That's the reason why he stepped in, short notice to fight Aldo. He's beaten Aldo how many times, right? At least 2, maybe 3 times, right? The 2 fights with Volk, basically, mollywop and Ortega, right? Pettis, Stevens, Ricardo Lamas, Charles Oliveira, the current champ, right? Cub Swanson, Cole Miller, Clay Collard, Andre Touchy-Feely, Will Chope, obviously a loss to Conor McGregor, right? But that was fucking 8 years ago. 8 years ago, man. That was August of 2013. Dennis the Menace Bermudez lost to, but again, Dennis the Menace Bermudez is not even fighting anymore. Leonard Garcia, like, God, Max Holloway is one of the greatest ever, right? Yeah. I mean, am I wrong in this? I don't feel like I'm wrong.
No, you're not. I think he is the greatest 145 pounder ever. I think he is. Yeah, I do believe so. I do believe Max Holloway is the greatest 145 pounder ever. Yes.
Okay, so I mean, in a theoretical sense, right? If you're looking at Holloway, Aldo, who else is 145, right? So Holloway, Aldo, and the current champ in Volkanovski, right?
I think Volk is down in 3rd place out of the 3 that you mentioned. Yes.
Okay.
I do believe so. Yeah. I don't care how many times Volkanovski beats Aldo. If they were to fight, I don't care. He's still below Aldo in my mind. He's good, but he is not Aldo good, and he definitely isn't Max Holloway good. That's just my personal opinion.
After that fucking fight with Ortega, holy shit, man! I got weird feelings about that one. Like
Ortega continues to make the same mistake. This is why these champions are able to pick him apart, like they're picking him apart. He still got certain people in this corner.
That's what I know where you're going.
That's what it is. It is what it is. You know what I mean? You got to call a spade a spade. You know what I mean? Until he makes those changes, nothing's going to change as far as him getting a title. He won't get past the top 2. He'll stay in 3rd. You know what I mean? 3rd place is where he will remain until he makes those necessary changes. I understand he feels that he owes this man something, but when he fought Max Holloway, they were doing embedded or something like that. And they were out in Canada or something like that. And they were out in the pool. It was very cold. And there was something about going in the water. And Ortega had a problem with the water. I believe this Gracie fella coerced them into going in the water or something like that on camera. And that whole transaction that night, before the fight, I knew immediately that he was going to lose. Oof. I knew immediately that he was going to lose that match. And if I had $1 billion, I would have bet all that $1 billion on Max Holloway that day. That day. That transaction between him and that Gracie fella, I knew that guy was an anchor for him. Though that guy might have brought him up to become the fighter that he is now, but that guy is an anchor to him. He's an anchor. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go ahead and look it up. Embedded or something like that. One of them, the one that they show on YouTube, the Embedded series, is that Embedded, right? Yeah. Go look at it. And then tell me if you don't see what I saw. You know what I mean? That little transaction that happened between them and that cold water, that made me know what that man said to Ortega led me to believe that his fighter was not going to win against Max Holloway. And that was exactly what happened. See, it's subtle things that you say. You don't have to say, you're going to lose. You don't have to say that. You don't have to say that. It's things that come out of your mouth. See, I watched this dude, Hassan Campbell. He always says words are spells, especially the English language. Words are spells. And what he said to that young man in that, I don't even care to repeat it. What he said to him in that water or at that poolside, that was what caused him to lose that match. And it affects him until today. Until even in his last title match. You know what I mean? He might not have said it on camera again, but these things are still coming out of his mouth. And that's the anchor that I speak about in regards to Ortega. But forget all that. Let's jump on Max Holloway and Yair Rodriguez. Max Holloway, Yair Rodriguez, as far as I'm concerned, that is fight of the year. Not that massacre that we witnessed last week with Chandler and what's the other guy's name? Gaethje. That is no fight to me. That was a bloodbath. I am not interested in fights like that anymore. Though these two fellas bled, they bled on a high level. Both of these gentlemen were on a high frequency. When we talk about free flow, this is what I'm talking about. Not a slugfest. What these two gentlemen did was not a slugfest. These were calculated strikes. Calculated strikes. You saw the head movement. You saw the defense. The defense and the offense were on point. These two gentlemen were balanced fighters. When they went to the ground, you saw ground. When it was standing, you saw standing. Max Holloway, man, all them leg kicks that he took to the shin and he was still walking afterwards. Dude's on a whole nother level in my mind. Whole nother level. To take all them leg kicks like that and continue to fight at a high level like he fought. Wow. Yair Rodriguez. He brought the future of striking. He displayed the future of striking to us. Now, let me tell you about the perfect fighter. Take Max Holloway's boxing and you throw it on Yair Rodriguez. You got yourself the perfect mixed martial artist. The perfect striker in mixed martial arts. Boxing like Max Holloway. Dynamic movement like Yair Rodriguez. Oh my goodness. They're coming. Yeah. They're coming. Trust me, they're coming. Adrian Yanez is a prime candidate to hit that perfect status. He's coming. He's not there yet because he's still young, but give him time. Yair Rodriguez has been gone for 2 years. He came back and look at what he did. What he did. Why? Because he dares to throw those strikes. He dares to throw the spinning strikes. He dares to throw the soccer kick. Right? The Maradona soccer kick.
Yep.
The twisting kick that he did.
Yep.
He dares to do it. He dares to do those things against a high level striker like Max Holloway. Mm-hmm. Max Holloway, you got to give him his props. The instant that he started to notice that Yair Rodriguez was slipping into free flow, he immediately went for the double leg takedown and he changed the game. He disrupted that flow immediately. This is why Max was a champion for as long as he was. This is why he was a champion. Yeah. Right? You can even argue this is why Volkanovski is the current champion. Because as soon as he sees Max Holloway going into free flow, he initiates the takedown immediately. Right? Max Holloway learning from what was done to him. He did the same thing to Yair Rodriguez.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? If you want to be on the highest level, you got to learn from your losses and your wins as well. Max Holloway showed that he's learned from his losses. You know what I mean? I mean, to stand in front of Yair Rodriguez like he did was admirable. I wouldn't advise it. I mean, look at the Korean Zombie. 1 second left and he lost the match. And a match that he was winning the entire time. He lost to an elbow that you didn't even see coming.
Exactly.
You know what
Phantom
I mean?
elbow.
Right, right. Yair Rodriguez is one of the most dangerous human beings in the UFC. One of the most dangerous UFC fighters. His hand speed is not as fast as Max Holloway. This is the only reason Max was able to beat him. Hand speed. This is why I say you take that boxing of Max Holloway and throw it on Yair Rodriguez, and you got yourself a perfect mixed martial artist striker. Perfect. His kicks. Who's got better kicks than Yair Rodriguez in the 145-pound division? Who?
Not many. Who? I don't think any.
Who?
Right.
Who? Question mark kicks with the lead leg.
Yeah.
I mean, he's striking like you've never seen before. Yair Rodriguez brings the future of striking right before you. Please, fighters, go and study this fight.
Yeah.
Learn this fight.
It's a masterclass.
If they fight again, Yair beats him. Trust me.
Wow.
If they fight again, Yair beats him. He beats him. He almost beat him.
Yeah.
If that elbow that he threw that caught Max, if it was an inch further, he would have knocked this block clean off. He barely grazed him with that elbow, that rising elbow from underneath. He barely grazed him. He hit him, but he didn't hit him solid. It wasn't a solid shot. He barely grazed him.
Right.
This is why at the end of the match, you see Max Holloway run to that van, the ambulance. Hey, man, these two gentlemen, they came close to death. They saw the light at the end of the tunnel. Death was near for both of them. And they beat it. This is why they embraced each other in the manner that they did. You see, when you see death flash before your eyes and you beat it, not only do you beat it, two men beat it together. They cheated death. And they made it out. You have to celebrate something like that.
Yeah.
No matter how much you hate the individual that you're fighting. I mean, look at Kamaru Usman and Covington. Immediately they embraced. You know what I mean? When you fight for 25 minutes, people don't understand. They don't understand what goes on in that cage.
Mm-hmm.
25 minutes of an opponent that refuses to quit.
Mm-hmm.
And you yourself refusing to quit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For 25 minutes, exchanging massive blows like they took. And not just massive blows, not just a brawl. Blows that were systematic. Executed perfectly. You know what I mean? These two gentlemen are at the highest level of the game. Max Holloway, man, he's something special. He's something special. His wrestling, the man can grapple like no one else. But he chooses not to do it. By choice.
Yeah.
He's that damn good. He chooses to beat you with this. Like the true Hawaiian that he is. He chooses to use these. Because this is what we do where I come from. I would learn your art, your jiu-jitsu, and your wrestling. I would learn it. Just so you don't put me in that situation.
Right.
But if it comes to it, this is what it is. And you got to respect Max for that. Shout out to Max Holloway.
Yeah.
But Yair Rodriguez, man, even in the loss, he didn't lose because he fought at the highest level.
Yeah.
He fought at the highest level. He even broke his body. He broke his body in this match. And you saw his foot. That foot is broken, man.
It's
Look how swollen it was. It's broken. It's broken. And we didn't know until the fight was over just how badly he was damaged.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And when you put it like that, when they cheat death, I don't think
they did.
I almost, nothing against Irish Dragon, Paul Felder, Michael Bisping, former UFC middleweight champion, and who's really surprising me in terms of commentator. I talk about preference, right? I actually prefer Brendan Fitzgerald over John Anik. Like Brendan Fitzgerald is, he might be an ESPN guy. I don't know what his background was, before it, but like he is somebody And nothing against Anik, right? Like I love Rogan, right? I love Rogan doing commentary. There's a lot of people that thinks he phones it in. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
that's bullshit because again, Rogan fought the good fight where nobody wanted to touch UFC. And he was
Mm-hmm.
the first kind of you gotta remember how big news radio was. You gotta
Mm-hmm.
remember how big, the man show was in some circles, how big Fear Factor was around the fucking world, right? So with that all being said, like, you don't shit on Rogan, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
Rogan basically, carved the path that a lot of people can walk down, myself included,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Podcasting, interviewing, commentary, what have you. Rogan was it, right? When there was nobody fucking attaching themselves to this business, right? So y'all get the fuck off Rogan. I'm not saying anything against John Anik,
Mm-hmm.
but I prefer Fitzgerald. 100%. Like I prefer Fitzgerald, and nothing against all three gentlemen behind the bench, behind the desk that night. But your assessment of them cheating death, I almost feel like you should have been on commentary.
Well, uh, it's not what you can do. It's who you know in this game. I see a lot of folks out there that, I mean, they're qualified, but they're not the best for the position. I mean, you see this in life all the time.
Yeah,
This is the way life is, and we can only do our best. We can only do our best.
that
It is what it is.
that was the best. That was the best. And I just went down a little bit of a wormhole in terms of the featherweight division. The featherweight division in the UFC, remember, didn't really happen. Jens Fulver, was a champion of a fucking division that didn't exist, right? Same thing with Yves Edwards, right?
Hmm.
But when you think about it, it dates back to the WEC, right? It dates back to the WEC when you had names like, fuck, this is crazy to me, right? Cole Escovedo is the one who basically is the inaugural champion with his defeat of Philip Perez in Lemoore in
Hmm.
WEC, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and then he defended it against Anthony Hamlet on WEC 8, right?
Hmm.
Then gets defeated by Uriah Faber at WEC 19 in 2006. And Uriah Faber's defenses were Joe Pearson, Dominic Cruz, Chance Farrar. A lot of people name a lot of people fucking forget. Jeff
Hmm.
Curran and Jens
I
Pulver.
remember him.
Yeah,
Hmm.
both, like all of them. It's amazing, right? Then none other than American top teams. Mike Brown beats Uriah Faber, right? At WEC 36, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
he defends it against Leonard Garcia and a rematch against Uriah Faber at UFC, WEC 41,
Hmm.
right? In Uriah Faber's hometown, right? And then he gets defeated by Jose Aldo in
Hmm.
2009. And
Hmm.
essentially, Aldo fucking holds that son of a bitch until he loses to Connor.
Hey, he went to the UFC and they handed him the belt.
They handed him the fucking, like, that's 6 fucking years, yo. If Jose Aldo's featherweight dominance was a child, when he loses the title, that was a child that is basically graduating from first grade into second grade, right? That's 6, or depending on where you are in the year, maybe kindergarten into first grade. Even still,
Mhm.
his defense is a fucking child. Is a child. So Jesus Christ, man, that's and I because when you said about one of the greatest ever and everything, but realistically, it's not to say that the featherweight division is a young division because it
Mhm.
has the mid 2000s where it has its lineage from, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's not that. It's just fucking Aldo was so dominant for so fucking long.
That's true.
Over
That's true. You got a point.
1800 over 1800 days, bro.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's woo,
You got a point
1848.
there. You
Yeah,
got a point there. You got a point
right?
there. Yeah.
You know, so if you're gonna do,
Aldo was
yeah.
the man.
So I
He
mean,
was the man.
honestly, if you do a top five, right, you can dispute it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's Aldo number one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you can argue either Max Holloway for number two, right? Then you go, where are we going? Or you could either go, uh, I don't even think, Pettis has because he fought Holloway
He's a
for the inner
155er, right?
155er that went
Yeah.
down and got thwarted by Holloway, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then, theoretically speaking,
He didn't even make weight.
there's only five kingpins of the division, right? You got Aldo,
Mm-hmm.
you got Holloway, and depending on who you ask, you could have either Connor or Volk 1 and 2 for number three. But there's only four.
I put the California kid in front of Volkanovski.
I agree, 100%. 100%. He was selling out the Arco Arena in Sacramento with, a lot of people thought that WEC was inferior, right? You got to remember that fucking time period, right? Right? Low weight classes, right? And this is UFC, who is basically started because, Rorion Gracie wanted to see his little brother Hoyce jiu-jitsu fuck everybody, right? So, and he wanted to show that the diminutive brother could show the art of jiu-jitsu, right? But how weird we were, then what, a little over a decade later, we're looking at the lower weight classes as inferior, right? But as a theoretical inferior division, inferior, lower weight classes, and a non-UFC production, again, Uriah Faber was essentially selling out a 17,000 seat arena yes, it was in Sacramento, but he was doing kind of the same everywhere else they fucking did, so like, shit, man. Yeah, so that, I agree with you. So it's like, it's Aldo, Holloway.
Mm-hmm.
I'd even say, just in terms of longevity, Faber, Connor,
Mm-hmm.
and Volk. Those are your five kingpins.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
Okay with that. That's it.
I'm okay with that.
And then if you're just talking about earnings, Connor supersedes all of them.
The entire industry. Beginning to now.
Royce Gracie doesn't have Conor McGregor money. Rorion Gracie don't have, Matt Hughes don't have Conor McGregor money. George St. Pierre doesn't have. You go on the list. You could put the earnings of every MMA champion, right, in North America, right? That would be Bellator, UFC, LFA, right? And all these whatever, the regional organizations, and in every division, and they don't even touch. They're 100 million short of Conor McGregor.
You can even say their career earnings.
Yeah, career
earnings doesn't touch one fight check for Conor.
And again, that is the difference. Anybody that wants to know the difference, and again, people are hating on Conor. You can hate on Conor. You can hate on CM Punk. You can hate on CM Punk. You can hate on Brock Lesnar, Ronda Rousey, all that, whatever. Proof is in the pudding, folks.
The platform is necessary. It's necessary and it's major. It's the Trinity, man. Of course, you can fight. You got to be able to fight. You got to be able to rock the mic. And if you can rock the mic, you'll be able to rock your platform. You know what I mean? If you can't get those three done, you're just a punching bag.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So before we punch out, Kenny Toss says, "What's up, Master?"
What's up, Kenny?
Yes, absolutely.
Hey, you see that boy Kenny right there?
Yeah.
Natural talent, man. I started working with Kenny when he was maybe 7, 8 years old. 7, 8 years old. And then he was like, "Hey, I want to become a skater." So he disappeared for like 4 or 5 years, skateboarding, jumping 15 stairs, 20 stairs, doing all of that. And then he recently came back, man. We picked up where we left off. The kid is hey, man, you teach him anything, he picks it up immediately.
Wow.
Immediately. Teach him any technique. He picks it up immediately and he starts to use it right away. That's my boy, man. Shout out to Kenny, man. That's my boy. I love that kid.
Yeah. Shout out to Kenny, man. I'm excited to see what whether he does it for long term or whatever. We'll continue skateboarding. I mean, look at
he's doing
Gio
both now.
Yeah, look at Gio and Boogie Martinez, right? Fucking breakdancing, right? And fucking tearing the jiu-jitsu, fucking everybody up, and have been for 10 years. Eddie Bravo, Eddie Braj, black belts, both of them, It's just great, And before we go, there's a Karma Worthy released from his fucking UFC contract.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, and he said he's been released after a 5-5 stint where his last 3 appearances have been losses.
Not just losses.
KOs.
Hey, UFC don't want no liability, man. That's what that is. They don't want to be liable. Hey, if you're not ready for this level, maybe you should go somewhere lower. You know what I mean? Until you get your skills up. I mean, Karma is still pretty relatively young, I believe. He's in his 20s.
Yeah.
So he can come back. I mean, what's that fella that couldn't make weight back in the days? Anthony Rumble Johnson. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. He left for a while, went somewhere, got his life back together, and then he came back and he went for a title run, right? So, it's not over yet, Karma Worthy. Go and learn how to not get knocked out, and then you can come back. I mean, you got knockout power. You're a pretty good fighter. There's some things that are still missing, man. That I'm tough attitude. It's not for the octagon, not for the UFC.
Actually, he's 35. So yeah,
it is what it is, man. Go get it. Learn how to drive trucks. Go figure something out, man.
Yeah,
because well, I can't really say that because I started at 35.
Yeah, but you had a lot less
from scratch.
Yeah, but you had a lot less damage though. I mean, you got you've always been a martial artist, right? That has perpetuated your life since the minute you stepped on the mats, right? So that's but you had a lot less damage than Karma Worthy, Yeah. So
he's taking some severe knockouts. I mean,
and especially the last 3. Yeah, that last 3, that even Jason House and Iridium couldn't save him. That's saying something, So
it's probably a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's that. And then Arlen Blanco, who beat former Invicta World Featherweight Champion Pam Bam Swerenson. They were asking her about retirement, and she kept on going like, "Nope, don't put that shit on me. Old girls rule." So shout out to Arlene Blanco, which she's already faced Cyborg, and that didn't work out so well, But kudos to her for being able to, at a top level, still being able to do the damn thing, And last but not least, right? Because we covered UFC, we covered Bellator, right, with Arlen Blanco, but none other than Pearl Gonzalez, who lost probably. In many instances, most people in many communities will say that she got robbed over her fight. Her fight with it was somebody that she was beefing it. It was Britain Hart. Yeah, and unfortunately, Britain. The judges in Florida went the way of Britain Hart. Obviously, Britain Hart. Half of that card, that fucking crazy fight with her and Carissa Segala, that was arguably the best women's fight, but could be the best fight in bare knuckle fighting history in terms of this incarnation. So yeah, man. So in 2 outings with BKFC, it seems like she's moving on. So whether she comes back to MMA, which she just competed in Invicta, back in 2020. So, and she faced none other than Miranda Fear the Maverick back at Invicta FC 39. So
Mhm.
whether she does that, whether she ends up in the UFC, we don't know. But she said she is done with BKFC for the moment.
It is what it is, man. Look, the one thing about this sport or combat is uh, there is no parade if you decide to leave or whatnot. There's always someone in the chamber ready to take your place. There's always another bullet ready to go into that chamber and get ready to fire. You know what I mean? Vince McMahon always says it. He's always said the same thing. You know, no one individual is bigger than the industry. And Dana White and the very best of them, they live by this rule. They might not admit they learned it from Vince, but they all learned it from Vince McMahon.
Right?
No one individual is bigger than the industry, which is why Hulk Hogan, when he tried to run his mouth, he got fired. Ultimate Warrior, when he tried to run his mouth, he got fired. It doesn't matter who you are, how big you are, you will be fired if you try to strong harm the corporation. The only way that these fighters or these performers can ever be powerful is by uniting, as becoming one fist. Fighting it as a finger or two is not enough. The whole fist has to be united. This is the only way you can beat the industry. And until they do that, nothing's going to change.
Yeah. No, 100%. I don't think we could have ended on a better note. Unfortunately, and in many respects, I mean, you probably had more of a fanfare, send off than a lot of these guys and girls in, other prominent, organizations. I mean, none other than, victorious Ozzy Diaz, echoed your praises, and a lot of the guys that came up with you during that U of MMA stints say the same. So again, just there you go.
Yes.
So again, fighters, open up every social media, create
That's
some
right.
fucking t-shirts, get on
That's
every
right.
podcast, start
That's
a
right.
podcast your own. Fucking
That's right.
OnlyFans. That ain't just for titties and asses and everything.
That's
There are
right.
people doing workouts on fucking OnlyFans. Get your
That's
YouTube
right.
channel. Get whatever,
That's right.
man. Because this
That's right.
once it's done, it's done.
It's over.
It's over. It's over. As is this show, but it's not over because, again, this Thursday at 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we are going to be covering none other than Misha Cupcake Tate's return to the cage for UFC. Not the return. This is the first time she's been here since the Marion Renault retirement fight, theoretically speaking, and her comeback fight. But we've got some crazy, not to get into it, but we've got like fucking Sam Hughes, Sean Soriano, Cody Durden, Farah Siam, Lupita Guginez versus Loma Lukenby. Fuck! Rafa Garcia, Nathaniel Levy, Tucker Lutz versus Pat Sabatini, Adrian Yanez versus Davey Grant, Joanne Calderwood versus Thialio Santos, Ronnie Yaya, fucking veteran, against Kyung Ho Kang, right, of Korea, Michael Chiesa versus Sean Brady, and Caitlin Vieira versus Misha Tate. 12. I mean, I'm praying to the MMA gods that nobody fucking gets hurt, man. This is, woo, man. I'm excited. I got fucking goosebumps, man. So
they've
we will
already
be back.
canceled 7 fights.
Well, that's 7 fights that they've canceled, but we still get fucking 12, right? Because Luana Priano was supposed to go against Jessica Penne, right? Malcolm Gordon was actually supposed to have, Dennis Bondare, but it looks like it's a rescheduling. So that fight will happen. It just won't, it won't happen right now. Augusto Sakai versus Taito Ivasa, which somebody's getting knocked the fuck out, but unfortunately, visa issues kind of prevented that from happening this time around. Pat Sabatini versus Gavin, the Governor Tucker. Tucker withdrew, but we get that Sabatini match that we were talking about. Marcin Perchinia was supposed to go against Azamat Muzakhanov, right? But Marcin Pacino unfortunately withdrew, and we were supposed to have Joanne Wood versus Alexa Grasso. Grasso withdrew, and Cheyenne Bays again. It was the original opponent for Luma
Yeah.
Lukenby, but Bays tested positive for COVID-19. Hopefully, she heals up. That is a horrible fucking thing. But Lupita Godinez is looking. She's already won a LFA title. She's competed for
Hmm.
Combate Americas. She is on for historical significance because she would have fought 4 times in 6 months. Against Loma Lukenby.
Hmm.
This is a
Hmm.
flyweight versus strawweight, and this is actually
Hmm.
happening in the strawweight division, which Lupita was a former LFA strawweight champion. So holy fucking shit, this is great. So we will be back Thursday at 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for more Voodoo in the Woods. Voodoo, where can they find you on social media?
You can go to YouTube, Voodoo Maximus, Instagram, Voodoo Maximus, Facebook page, Voodoo Maximus, Twitter, Voodoo Maximus, Snapchat, Voodoo Maximus, all day, every day.
All that, yes, and you can find me According to Woods on everything that he just said. But instead of Voodoo Maximus, it's going to be According to Woods. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, even a TikTok. There's a TikTok that I do own and operate. So there's that, and you definitely want to check out what's coming in on Tuesday. Tuesday is going to be a really, they're all special. All interviews are special. All podcasts are special. But I got something special planned for you guys. So go ahead and subscribe to Voodoo in the Woods as well as According to Woods. But for Voodoo, for me, we are